The situation in Ohio just continues to get worse and worse and worse. For those of you all who may not know, on February 3rd, a freight train carrying tons of toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. These chemicals then spilled out into the soil. It spilled out into the water supply. And they decided, you know what? We want to get the railways up and running again, so let's do a controlled burn of these chemicals. It's going to be totally safe. That's what they told everyone. But this controlled burn did nothing more than release tons of toxins into the air that is affecting, as of right now, an over 200-mile radius. And as far as I know, the current administration is not saying anything about it. In fact, earlier today, President Biden tweeted something about the fake climate change crisis nonsense. Meanwhile, we have a real environmental disaster that we can all see unfolding with our own two eyes right in front of us, and no one wants to talk about it. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, should show you that all of this climate change nonsense, it's not about the environment. These people do not care about the environment at all. They care about controlling you. None of these activists, Greta Thunberg, where is she? She's nowhere to be found. Al Gore, nowhere to be found. None of these environmentalist activists are anywhere to be found because they don't really care about real environmental disasters. They only care about grifting off of climate change and promoting climate change because they are paid to do so by various governments around the world because they have an agenda to push, an agenda that is about control and not about the environment. Because if these people cared one single bit about the environment, they would be in Ohio right now making sure the situation gets better. But they aren't. They're ignoring the situation and they are delivering orders to law enforcement to arrest journalists who are trying to get info out there about what's happening in Ohio. People's pets are dying. Fish are dying. Livestock are dying. And now people are already reporting health issues. I want to go ahead and dive into one of these articles. Residents of a small town in Ohio fear for their health and safety after huge clouds of toxic chemicals were released in a controlled explosion following a train derailment earlier this month. About 50 cars, including 10 carrying hazardous materials, derailed in a fiery crash in East Palestine at about 9 p.m. on Friday, February 3rd. Homes within a 1-mile radius were soon evacuated as vinyl chloride was slowly released from 5 of those cars. Authorities then ignited the gases for a controlled release of the highly flammable toxic chemicals in a controlled environment, creating a dark plume of smoke seen for miles away. The evacuation orders were lifted last week, with the Environmental Protection Agency reporting the area was safe. But as residents return to their homes, some are reporting burning sensations and persistent coughs. Local farmers have also claimed that livestock are all suddenly dropping dead, as state officials say that more than 3,500 fish across 7.5 miles of streams have died. It has now been revealed that even more toxic chemicals were on board the freight train than had previously been reported, as the United States Environmental Protection Agency warns that chemicals are continuing to be released to the air, surface soils, and surface waters. Don't tell me it's safe, says Kathy Reese, who lives in Ohio just north of East Palestine. Something is going on if the fish are floating in the creek. Officials with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources have said that a chemical spill related to the train derailment has killed 35,000 small fish. Meanwhile, one resident of North Lima, more than 10 miles away, said that her 5 hens and rooster died suddenly after train operator Norfolk Southern burned the cars that were carrying vinyl chloride. I want you all to take a quick look at this clip.
So I walked up to the cage, and this is what I found.
Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
I'm beyond upset and quite panicked because they may be just chickens, but they're family.
Brashears says her chickens were alive and well yesterday. She believes the smell following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her birds' sudden death.
My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died. If it can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what it's going to do to us in 20 years.
So our government is telling these people, hey, go back home. Everything's fine. Meanwhile, their pets, their animals, their livestock, they're dying. I can tell you right now, if those chickens are out there dying from breathing this stuff in, then it's not going to be good for humans either. So the fact that they're telling people, oh, just go home, it's okay, it is not okay. If you have the ability to, if you're in that area, get far, far away. Okay? I can assure you it will be worth it to get as far away from there as possible. This is not okay, but that is not all that people are reporting. Jenna Gionos, a wedding photographer nearby, said she has a persistent cough that's been going on for the past week and a half. She says that she's only been drinking bottled water and she's uncomfortable using tap water to bathe. They only evacuated 1 mile from that space. And that's just insane to me, she says. I'm concerned with the long-term health impact. It's just a mess. Meanwhile, East Palestine resident Melissa Henry says that her youngest son's eyes turned as red as a tomato, and he has been coughing a lot ever since the family evacuated to her parents' house outside of the evacuation zone. Another resident says that, another resident who is a registered fox keeper who lives outside the evacuation perimeter, says that all of his foxes have fallen ill and one has died. So all around this area, people's animals are dropping dead. People's kids are getting sick. People are getting sick. Adults are getting sick. And our government's just like, nothing to see here, folks. Everyone go back home. Everything's okay. Oh, let's talk about the climate change crisis. Let's pretend that bad weather is something that was just created yesterday. Let's pretend like bad weather never existed. Let's focus on the fake climate change crisis instead of the real natural disaster that's happening in Ohio. And I'm telling you all right now, I am not so sure that this was an accident. I've looked into who owns these train companies, or who are the majority stockholders of places like Norfolk Southern. And full disclosure, I own stock in Norfolk Southern. So I didn't even know this, but the biggest stockholders in this company are BlackRock, Vanguard. You know, these huge entities that have already been buying up a lot of land in America, that have been buying up a lot of real estate, buying up a lot of farmland. And what happens? This train goes into Ohio, right into the middle of farmland, and derails, and messes up all of these crops, messes up all of these people's farms. Who knows if these people's farms will ever be the same again? The soil is contaminated. The soil will be contaminated for years. So when you're eating corn and potato and stuff that are coming from these farms, those vegetables are going to be contaminated. So I'm not looking at just this singular situation. I'm looking at the fact that there are food warehouses and production plants burning down all over America. I'm looking at the fact that just in this week alone, we had 4 or 5 train derailments carrying toxic chemicals that all seem to, seep into water supplies and farmlands. And I'm starting to connect the dots here. And you see the governor, I believe it was the governor, actually says that they didn't even know this train was coming. Governor DeWine says that the state was not made aware that this train was even moving through Ohio. And he's asking Congress to investigate why it was. He also says that the train was not categorized as high hazardous. Now, I don't trust any politicians. Maybe that's just this guy trying to save face. But from what he says, we didn't even know this train was coming to Ohio. So why is this train carrying all of this hazardous material coming to Ohio and derailing right in the middle of farmland when they didn't even know it was coming? Meanwhile, the train was also not marked high hazardous. You know, a lot of people are already labeling this America's Chernobyl. And I understand why. I thought that was a good label for this, but now looking at the response, I don't think we should call it America's Chernobyl at all. You want to know what the difference is between what's happening in Ohio and what happened in Chernobyl? Well, in Chernobyl, they actually evacuated the citizens. In Chernobyl, they never told people to come back. In Chernobyl, people still to this day do not occupy that area. Whereas here, a day and a half later, they were telling people within a 1 mile radius, hey, come back home. Breathe all these deadly toxins. The fumes that are being released into the air out there are the same gases that they used for chemical warfare in World War I. I kid you not. These same toxins and gases that are being released into the air and into the water and into the soil, they're some of the same toxins that we used in chemical weapons in World War I. Yet they're telling people, hey, go home, it's fine. It's fine. Meanwhile, people are breathing in this stuff. I want you to understand that during World War I, when these toxins and gases were used, most of the soldiers had on gas masks. And a lot of them still died. A lot of them still had health issues afterwards. Over here, they're telling people, go home. Go home. The same country that made all of you all mask up for no apparent reason for years on end are telling you, oh, there's nothing wrong with the air in Ohio. Oh, you want to go to Kroger's? You want to go to Publix or Piggly Wiggly? You better put a mask on and be scared of the common cold. But hey, we're releasing freaking World War I chemicals out here into the air, and you don't got to wear a mask. You don't got to worry. Go home, breathe the air. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. Hopefully stories like this will start to wake people up. Our government, none of these governments care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about us. They don't care about the environment. They only act like they do in order to fit certain agendas. And you know, this story gets even weirder. And we're going to dig into how this story gets weirder soon. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this entire situation. Hit the thumbs up, share this video. YouTube does not like us talking about this type of stuff. Share this video, and I will talk to you all soon.